So in my opinion, when you're learning different movements, one of the best ways to learn the movement is to figure it out yourself. Meaning put yourself in a position that you're able to figure it out on your own. And what's really interesting about the hinge to squat movement, the way I teach it, by accessing the squat through the hinge, is that I am placing that student in a position where they can figure out on their own by making the adjustments in the feet, by having a different hip hinge, whether it's high or low. They can figure it out themselves on how to get into the most comfortable squat position for them. So as I said, is that when you're teaching this and you're going through the hinge to squat, there's going to be a lot of adjustments that need to be made within the feet. And the student's actually going to tell you, the coach, what adjustments need to be made. So if, for example, you have somebody that comes in with a very high hip hinge and they say, well, how do I get to this high hip hinge to the squat? Well, first you're going to set your baseline. Let them go into the high hip hinge and then transition to the squat. And what they're going to say is either, hey, I need to go a little wider. It feels a little more comfortable. I feel like I need to go a little wider, or I feel like I need to go a little narrower. Let that process happen naturally, because that's them figuring out where their most powerful stance will be in the squat, and that's really the point of this. The other really interesting thing about this is that as a coach, as a trainer, you don't have to really discuss at all the knees or the ankles, which tend to be a very common area or joints that either get locked up or have been injured in the past or have poor mobility. So those really do restrict the squat movement for a lot of people. And when you've had a knee injury or an ankle issue, the last thing you want to do is squat, because mentally you feel like I'm not able to do so. But using the hinge to get there, well, look what we do. As I go through my hinge movement, I only need a very slight knee bend here. And also, the ankles really don't come into play at all when I'm going into my hinge motion. So if you just watch this, slight knee bend, even if it's a high hip hinge, again, slight knee bend, and very little to any at all movement in the ankle. So we've already eliminated that problem for a lot of people, the ankles and the knees. So as a coach, you don't have to pull your knees out, or you don't have to work on the calf or anything to gain some more mobility in the ankle at first. You could just take them through this progression and have them figure out how much knee bend they need initially to get their butt down and get up from that hole to standing position. So this is the great part about it, is that you don't have to talk about knees or ankles. You don't have to give cues of either one. All we have to do is place the student in the hinge position and let them figure out, by making adjustments, how low they feel comfortable to start, and then just standing from that position. And as we go through this, and as you progress with your student and you get some more reps under you, they're going to get more comfortable going from the hinge to the squat to the stand. And then that's where we start to add some weight to the movement. And when we start adding weight to the movement, the squat and their stance that they found on their own is going to feel even more comfortable, and it's going to feel stronger. And the other thing you're going to notice is when we add some weight, it will start developing their own unique squat stance, and they'll find that depth that's ideal for them at that time. Now, in my experience, as you work through the hinge to squat, and the squat gets better and better every time you do it, they're going to get deeper and deeper into their squat, which is really great, because the lower that hip joint is below the knee, that's where the glute kicks in, and that's really where we want the student to get to at some point. So give this a try. Don't think about cueing knees or ankles, because you don't have to, and allow the student to figure it out on their own.